Hello, my name is Tom Clendon and I am an ACCA tutor. And today I'm joined here by Aritz.
Hello, Tom.
And Debbie.
Hi, Tom.
And we're here to discuss planning. One of the wonderful things about ACCA is that it gives the student choices. And I'm curious to know how these two recently qualified members navigated their way through the ACCA examination system and the choices that they made and how they planned those choices. So, first of all, Aritz, thinking about strategic professional, there's optional papers, 2 optional papers. Which did you do? Why did you do them?
Yeah, well, I did the professional papers, the first 2, a strategic business leader first, then I did strategic business reporting. And I really enjoyed that one. I always had in mind that I was wanting to do advanced audit and assurance. So because I have very fresh knowledge from doing SBR, I decided to go straight away for advanced audit and assurance.
And can I say that is not only the right answer, that is, I think personally, essential that if you're going to do AAA, you do it after SBR.
Yeah.
And that's your experience too, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's my experience. And going back to the question of what other option I chose tax. But tax, I think it can go on its own because, yeah, it's true that you do tax like in the skill papers, but when you get into the professional papers, you have to recap with absolutely everything. If it might be as well the element of the rules have changed. So you have to relearn and recap again with the skills, with the basic tax, if you like. Okay. So yeah, I put that one for the end.
So it's interesting for me because you've done the AAA and you've done the advanced tax, and that is sometimes called the practice route, but you don't work in practice, do you?
No, I don't work in practice, but I think that this still helps with my job. And also because I enjoy the IFRS standards and, sometimes it applies to my job because my company, the company where I work for is subject to audit. And when it's like double entries done in the first tax that they are wrong and things like that, I think I got the skills to identify them and to understand when I'm talking to tax auditors or like external auditors about what they expect, what they want, and how should I approach their requirements. Good. Fantastic. Debbie, you would have faced similar choices. Did you make the same decisions as Aritz? What optional papers did you do?
So not quite the same, but I think the point that you made, I learned the hard way. So I initially did AAA and then learned that actually I need to go back and do SBR first before carrying on with AAA. So did SBR, then did AAA, and then ended up picking APM as a final choice. But that was after studying tax. Advanced tax, and then realizing that actually I work as a finance business partner, so I can get through the APM paper. Not easily, but I could get through it quicker than tax.
So with the benefit of hindsight, you would have made different choices. In other words, you started going down the tax route and you had to you decided to withdraw and then go down the APM.
Yeah. And I think tax is a great paper. I work in practice, so tax is a great paper. But as I mentioned, because I work in business partnering, it made sense to do APM. I think, tax was great and it was very interesting, something to apply to real life. But yeah.
So I've never taught APM. When I was an ACCA student, APM didn't exist. Could you give me a description of what APM is in 30 seconds and why you liked it?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it because it really made sense with my role. It was really looking at how real life in terms of, economics, like the political standing of the world or your environment, plays a part in the financials, and really linking that in through different methods and assessing how, really those two meet and how they impact each other, how stakeholders matter in decision making. And the paper covers all of that in different variations and different scenarios. So.
Oh, you missed out.
You did.
Good. Okay. You did that last.
Mm-hmm.
That was a deliberate strategy, or why did you do it last?
Yes, because I had done audit.
Right.
In my skills. So I did audit in the foundation paper, and I felt like my knowledge of audit was fresh for me to go and do advanced audit straight away. So I think that was really my reason. There wasn't any sort of strategy behind picking advanced audit first. I feel like it just made sense, especially doing SBR and just,
So again, benefit of hindsight there, Debbie. If you'd done your SBR first, life would have been easier for you doing AAA.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you got there the hard way, but you got there.
But I did get there at the end, yeah.
And you chose to do your core papers first, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
And that was deliberate, or had someone given you that advice, or?
So I think one of the mistakes that I made, but it turned out to go pretty well, it was I look at the pass rates, of the students' pass rates. And then with the time and after time, I realized that the pass rates, they are meaningless to individuals' experience. I think some exams, they have low pass rates because people, they just don't get the right advice or they don't know how to approach the exam. But that doesn't mean that just because a paper has 32%, you're going to fail. So I start with SBL because it has the highest pass rates. And I was getting into the professional papers after doing self-study for all the first 9 papers. And I just wanted to touch base a bit with how the professional papers were. So just getting into the easiest of the hardest. And then I embraced SBR because it was the second one. And at this point, I didn't have very clear which options I was wanting to take. But I enjoy SBR more than I thought I would. And then that took me to AAA. I was for sure, I was certain that I didn't want to do AFM. I didn't enjoy FM itself.
So that's all the spreadsheet stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cost of capital.
Cost of capital, yeah.
Some people love it, don't they? It's a bit of a Marmite one.
Yeah, all the whack and everything, yeah. So I was for sure that I was certain that I didn't want to do that. And then I thought that it would be more interesting. So I did SBL, SBR, AAA, and I had to pick up another one. And between APM and tax, I thought that it would be AAA to go a combination with tax. I knew it would be very, very hard. Actually, tax has a good pass rate as well these days. But I was like, okay, /push. Last 3 months, come on, you can do it. And actually, tax was the hardest exam I done, advanced tax. But here I am now.
But you passed it.
Yeah.
And with a good mark.
Very good mark, actually.
Yeah.
But I put all the effort into it. I wasn't wanting to give any chances to fail my last exam.
Sure. Thank you. One of the other things about ACCA, Debbie, is they now do 4 exams a year. Yeah. So that places a pressure or a decision on you as to whether you're going to do an exam every time. Did you, in your journey, always sit an exam every sitting? What was your planning? What was your rationale about deciding when to do an exam?
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't do an exam every sit-in. And I think my rationale was, how long do I feel like I need to study a paper to give myself enough time to practice. And for me, it did always work out doing the 6 months or, every 6 months, doing twice a year, because that's just how much time I needed to study because I was working. I'm a mum, so that worked out for me. But what was good is that I had four options, right? So I could do, March and then September, or I could do, March and then December, whatever I decided to do. But that was how the route I took. So probably about two out of the 4 sittings when I didn't have a break. So yeah.
Sure. I only miss one sitting in the skills paper for personal circumstances, but I try to sit 4 exams a year because I was ready to sacrifice 3 years of my life, like weekends and having to revise after a full-time job. And, I was wanting to fly through it as quick as I could. I was very planning in 3 months. Obviously, you get 3 months. The first 6 weeks are, to me, the worst because you are already revising for the next exam, but you didn't get the results for the last one. So it's hard, like, what am I doing? Should I stop now and should I just keep on revising? But you need to carry on. And then 2 months before the exam, it's pure tuition, like getting through the content, getting your own notes. Obviously, you're going to have a lot of questions after the tuition month, but everything will come to click into the revision month, which is the month before the exam. And I know everyone says that a lot, but it's like practice, and revision. All the tuition comes into click, and also learning how to do the exam is half of the pass in it.
I was at the beginning of your answer there, you used the word sacrifice. And at the back of my mind, I was wondering how long it would take before that word came up. Because you've both had to sacrifice along this journey to get qualified, haven't you?
Yeah. Weekends, holidays.
Yeah.
I remember, for example, when I did SBR, it was in September and it was always the August bank holiday before and it was super sunny and I was stuck at home. But cancelling plans. And the closer is, you probably will agree as well, like the closer is the exam date, the more pressure you feel on you. Like, oh my God, I'm ready, I'm not ready. Yeah. What am I doing? Should I?
Yeah, you have to sacrifice so much. And I think, actually, you mentioned, Tom, about the sittings, and I think that's been a massive change because I know it was 2 at a certain point, 2 a year, and I think that's accommodated for different circumstances that you go through in life where like our journeys have been different, but we've been able to sort of pick and choose how quick, how slow, or, at our own pace, really. So I think, that's been massively beneficial, being able to do that. Okay,
so we're talking about planning and we're talking about choices and how you, in your journey, have exercised those choices. I'll start with Debbie first here. Approved learning providers. These days you can study in a classroom. These days you can study online. These days you can study from books. There's a variety of different ways that you can study. How have you made your decisions? How have you planned how you prepare yourself for the exam? What worked for you?
So I think I've always been lucky enough to be sponsored to study, and I've always gone with an approved provider, so with Kaplan. And honestly, I found that's been a great way to study.
Face-to-face in a classroom or online or a mixture?
A mixture. So initially starting face-to-face, and then, when COVID hit, doing online and choosing to do it from home. I think I might have had one exam where I thought, I'll try and do it myself. And it didn't really work out that well. So I think it's always good to have that support and that tutor there that you can go to and ask questions. And I found that. But alongside, studying with Kaplan and going in to classroom or having online tuition, I've always used resources online as well. Like Open Tuition has been great. I also really, really like to use an accountancy. Yeah. I thought they were great alongside having, the resources from, college. So
you were resourceful. You went out hunting.
I really did. And it worked for me, just having those different reference points to help.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And your planning over your studies, how did that work for you?
It was a self-study, and I usually use Kaplan books.
That was for skills.
For skills, the first the skills and SBL. I did with the books, and I did practice the Kaplan exam kit like literally every single exercise, like 2 or 3 times. And then for SBL, I use accountancy. But then when I went into SBR and the last 3, I was, wow, I need an expert tutor. And here is when I went to FME online, because you don't need to learn only the content, but also the exam technique. It's very time pressure. They are really hard exams. You really need to get preparation and training from the best. So it was self-funded as well. So probably that's why I took it more serious. And then I remember messaging you every day with questions. So
Yeah. I mean, the majority of my students are self-funding, and I think that gives them a bit of skin in the game. I mean, you were blessed with being supported by your employer.
I was, and I think that is massive. But I think sometimes, when I hit a hurdle, which was SBR, when I hit that hurdle, and I thought, okay, I am using the resources, but I just couldn't get through it. And then that's when Tom came in and saved the day, and having that one-to-one contact with a tutor, it gave me just everything I needed to be able to sort of jump over that hurdle. So I think it's important to have that as well when you do need to. And that was self-funded at the time, even though I did have the sponsorship, but I knew I had to get through it some way, and one-to-one was the way for me to go. So sometimes you do need to sacrifice a little bit.
That's interesting. It's about being resourceful, and it's not one size fits all. It's about making your own choices and seeing what's out there and what's best for you. Great. One final question, slightly an open-ended question. But both of you have completed your examinations. Both of you are holding down good jobs. To what extent can you reflect on your study skills or your experience as an ACCA student? How has that translated into the workplace? How has that helped you at work? Debbie, perhaps are you able to reflect on that?
Yeah, I think ACCA as a whole, just having that qualification or even sort of progressing through it has helped me. I've always wanted to sort of progress or, maybe like move jobs, and not sort of allow the fact that I'm not finished to stop me from, applying for a role that I feel like, would be a good fit for me. And the question that I would always get asked while studying or while, through the recruitment process is, when are you planning to take your next exam? Or are you still planning to finish your exams? And for me, it was always yes. And I think that was always attractive to employers that, I'm still planning to finish, still planning to go along and get qualified. So I think that's always helped me, progress really, and get to where I am. So I think ACCA having that, going through that qualification and qualifying has been really great. And it's given me the confidence to know that I can move forward and apply for jobs with that confidence that, I'm qualified. And I think everyone is well aware that it's not an easy journey.
That's why it's worthwhile.
Exactly.
That is why it's worthwhile.
Yeah. So it's impressive to have from I'm impressed that I have it, the qualification, and I'm sure, employers are also impressed that, you've gone through it because they know how difficult it is to achieve. So I think it's always been massively beneficial, whether being a student and also more so qualifying and being a member. So
Cool. Aritz, how has it been in the workplace for you? Because you've got qualified and studied ACCA. Has it helped you in your job?
Oh, massively. Not only for like the skills, as Debbie was saying, also for the self-confidence when you complete your qualification and you face a real life problem. I got the skills, and and the foundations to face this problem. But also, I realized during my exams at ACCA that it was an element, a big part of the exam is the time and answering the requirement, which often students, they tend to, not the strongest area at times, because you just answer what you want to get asked.
Yes.
So answering the requirement and working through this towards my exams, it helped me at work when my manager or another stakeholder comes with a specific requirement. I can answer it straight away. I can understand what audience I'm reaching, and reaching a non-finance person and reaching to finance person. I think the exams they allow me to apply this into real life, right. And also to say time expectations and time management.
That's interesting. So yeah, that's interesting that you've got that discipline of doing an exam, answering the question within the time. In a workplace, they do want an answer tomorrow, don't they? They do want you to deliver. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I think that was a great conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it too.